I was born and raised Muslim. I prayed 5 times a day, and on Ramadan I fasted for 10 years. I was taught Islam was the only way to heaven, and I believed it. Then I started making non-Muslim friends. Christians said Jesus is the Son of God and is the way to heaven.
And that was another one of his arguments. Well, the Christians say you're going to hell if you don't, accept Jesus. The Muslims say you're going to hell. The hell with all of you now. Yeah. So I mean, what do you say to that?
This is the deen truth.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum. Muhammad Hijab, how are you, my brother?
Alhamdulillah.
I want to take a second and address a phenomenon that's been happening. You have a lot of people who are Muslim, maybe by name, locality. And Muslim is simply one who has submitted their will to the will of the Creator. That's right?
That's right.
But many people, they maybe they go to university, right? They have their parents teaching them to pray. They go through the rituals. They go through the motions. Yeah. But then they get out into the world, and some of these things they get hit with. They end up not going to the right sources to get the answers, and they form their own ideas, and that kind of goes with their desires, their lifestyle, and they drift off into the world. There is a nice young brother that we're going to go ahead and look at his video, and then we're going to kind of there's some of these points that he mentions in these videos. They go right up into what I'm talking about.
Right, okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
In life, there are 3 things you shouldn't talk about: money, politics, and religion. So today, I'm going to talk about religion. I was born and raised Muslim. I prayed 5 times a day, and on Ramadan, I fasted for 10 years. I was taught Islam was the only way to heaven, and I believed it. Then I started making non-Muslim friends. Christians said Jesus is the Son of God and is the way to heaven. Jews said they were the chosen one. Hindus said there's not one God, there are millions. And my atheist friends made fun of all of us. The more people I met, the more I realized everyone thinks their religion is right. And if one is right, then fundamentally everyone else is wrong, including me. That is when I stopped believing in religion and continued my belief in the idea of God, and decided to create my own religion. It's called Nasism, in which I try to love myself and others to the best of my abilities.
All right, before we go on, you got a chance to look at it. We got a chance to look at it. We love you, Nas. And this is we taking the time. This is out of love. Yeah. That's the brother's name, Nas.
Is it?
So he's got to know that we love him because we're addressing this.
Of course.
Have you heard some of these arguments? I'm sure you have.
Well, yeah. It's actually logically unfounded arguments. Like, if we think about what the arguments actually are, is that something which is complicated is untrue. So in other words, because there's many choices, it cannot be the case that the choice that I have decided upon, or my family has decided upon, or the environmental situation has put me in, is the correct choice. There's a few fallacies associated with this. The first one is a genetic fallacy. Just because something comes from a certain place, it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It just means it just comes from a certain place. Just because there are so many options of religions, or let's say there are 6 major world religions, it doesn't mean that, okay, one is right, all of them must be wrong. There's actually no argument against religion there. Then what he says about actually making his own religion is actually an ignorance of what is religion anyways, or what is religion trying to establish for the human being.
Haven't you compounded the problem of man-made religions already?
Yeah.
Fans, here.
4 days, bro.
Here. It's funny. Nas, this is so random.
That's so funny.
This is Nas Daily, okay? You know these, I got 15,000 followers.
That's terrible.
Not many, really, but this is for them.
Oh, you know her?
Just to be cut.
You just met her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's the wife? Oh, this is her.
Yes, but I have to look at long immigration alliances. And all these people are going
Okay, stop.
Okay, let's go.
Should I stop filming?
Yeah, that's good.
The Gentiles are not the chosen people. Then you're left with Christianity and Islam. And then you ask the question.
These are now the Abrahamic religions.
There are the 2 Abrahamic religions that are proselytizing religions, that are claiming to be absolutely true, and that have very solid truth claims.
We've narrowed it down.
We've narrowed it down. So you were left with Christianity and Islam.
We're making it much easier for our brother
Making
now.
it easier for him.
Yeah.
Of the major world religions, obviously Buddhism is another thing, which is not absolutist. And some people even say it's a religion. So that's why I haven't mentioned it. But with Christianity and Islam, the question would be now, on a fundamental level, which is more commonsensical, which is more rational, which is more logical? Is it the idea that there's 3 in 1 and 1 in 3? The idea that the Father is God, the Son is God, the Holy Spirit is God, but there's only one God, which doesn't even add up mathematically. It's not rational. We can trace the historical development of the Trinity. Or the idea that God is one, and that he has a long line of messengers that have come before time, all of them with the same message, that there's no God to be worshipped except for God, and that Muhammad was the final messenger sent to all of humankind, as is mentioned in chapter 7 of verse 158 of the Quran, that he is sent for all of human beings. And so, which you can tell me now of what we've just went through, which is the most rational recourse in terms of religion?
But I don't know what the Islam faith claims for in terms of creation.
Okay. Now, I just want to add another thought to that my brother here reminded me to. Okay. This one in this clip that's, saying why Christianity doesn't make sense, okay? Because he cannot understand it in his logical mind. Well, here's the bad news. You don't have to understand it in order for it to be true. It does not have to add up to your logic in order for it to be true. All right? His ways are higher than our ways, and his ways are past finding out. So, doesn't matter. Okay? It's not a question of logic. It's a matter of faith in God. That's the bottom line. Well, good afternoon. It's Thursday. What's the date today, Gareth?
The date today is the Thursday, the 8th of November.
8th November 2018, and I have a couple little clips here from someone talking about Nas Daily. Now, Nas and Daily and I are kind of connected a little bit. I've met him. I'm going to a couple of his apartments tomorrow, the first one in Tel Aviv. And they've put a couple of my couple posts of my story in their group. So anyhow, in this particular clips that this radio host, I suppose, did, they talk about Nas's opinion. And I just want to say something that I understand and sympathize with Nas, where he's kind of like, all these religions and all this conflict, let's just make a new one. I'll make my own. And so that's one thing. What is religion? It should be a search, a quest for the truth. Many opinions as to what's going on here. But the truth is in stone. A very exact sequence of events has transpired. Either is a God or there isn't. Either Jesus Christ is God, he's a prophet, he's a liar, lunatic, or Lord. One, either Muhammad really received a message from God, he was the last prophet, and many other religious, many other opinions. And there's the atheists who, I understand the confusion. But let's remember, it's a quest for truth. Okay, to look at the evidence and try to arrive at a conclusion. And somebody's analysis is probably closer to the truth than someone else's. Okay, now I do want to address one point. This fella, this Muslim man, you'll see in a minute, challenges Christianity on a fundamental point. He says, which makes more sense? A triune God, a 3-in-1 God, or one God that we'll call Allah? And he says, that makes no sense, okay? That there could be a 3-in-1 God. So, I think he's wrong. Because we are made in the image of God, are we not? it says that, they would agree. Well, I'm 3 in 1. I have an invisible essence, a soul. Well, you cannot see that, can you? You can see a body, can't you? You can see me at this conscious level, yes? Oh. Paul calls Jesus the image of the invisible God. What you see? God in bodily form. But there's 2 parts in one, right? Do I have a spirit? Do I have a spiritual body as well? Do I have a spirit that I can convey to others? Do I have maybe even a power? Okay? So yes, we are in the image of God. Okay? Created. 3 in 1. And so it's not illogical at all to me. So I just want to encourage you in that a belief in a triune God is very plausible. Paul calls Jesus the image of the invisible God in which dwells all the fullness of the Godhead bodily. Philip said to Jesus, show us the Father, and then we'll believe. Jesus said, how long have I been with you, and you still do not get it? I am in the Father is in me, I and the Father are one. God did not send a representative. He did not send someone else to do his job. God, loved us enough that he took on a full, physical, incarnate body as a man, brought forth through Mary, the vessel, into this world. He loved us enough to take our pain and our punishment. He was the righteous one that rose out of the grave victorious because he was sinless. He is the Lamb slain from the foundations of the world. Okay, stay with me. Tomorrow, we go to Tel Aviv, and then a week off, I don't know what we'll do, and then after that, we go to Wawabi in the West Bank. Don't know what we're going to see, who we're going to meet. And then after that, that's the Israel thing. I don't know. We'll see. Okay.